Southwest Business Corporation on their cloud consulting group. So in the current project role, it's a team of 7 people right now. I'm one of the lead DevOps engineer and a cloud architect. And we have 2 other developers, one QA, one release manager, and product owner. And my day-to-day role involves 60 to 70% of the time, particularly working on cloud customizing the entire private shared instances that are on AWS, close to 5,000 instances, working with S3, deploying Docker images on some of the EC2 platforms, and then also recently started working with Apache Mesos and Marathon for Docker containerization. And also a good experience with deploying like Kubernetes on the CentOS 7 platform as well. And also in the current project role, I could say that 20% have been using different tools for continuous integration and orchestration, like primarily working with Chef for configuration management, writing custom recipes, cookbooks using Ruby scripts, and also had good experience using Troposphere, primarily which is a custom Python library that I've been using for creating custom cloud formation templates. So very experience with that. And lastly, I had good experience working with Ansible Tower as well, like deploying some of the agents and then setting up compliance reports for that. And Git is the version control that we're using, continuous integration via Jenkins, SonarQube for code analyzer. And monitoring wise, I had good experience with New Relic, App Dynamics as well, so I had a good experience with that one.
Okay. In this environment, what's the proportion of Windows servers?
Yeah, sure. So Windows servers primarily, I could say 60% on Windows and then 40% on Linux environment. So I had a good experience with that one.
Okay. I mean, how often do the majority of your time, is it pretty even? You work on Windows servers and Linux servers both, or do you mostly work on one or the other?
Sure. So I would say I had fair experience with both Windows as well as Linux. But I could say roughly in the current project, maybe 60% on Windows and rest 40-50% on Linux. And I could say good experience on using on the Azure platform as well, particularly writing PowerShell, scripting in PowerShell as well. So I would say pretty good experience with Azure, using block storage as well as application insights. So I had a good experience with that one.
Okay. So with Azure, how are these servers being built? Are you using the GUI? Are you using Terraform? How are these servers being built? How did you build them?
Sure. So I'm currently using Terraform with Packer. So I was using the Azure Resource Manager as well, to kind of create these resources. But most of the time I was creating Azure resources with Terraform primarily, and then also have been using Packer for kind of setting up the infrastructure. So yeah, I was been using the Terraform scripts, and then I was actually executing those scripts primarily by Terraform.
Okay. Sure. Can you describe any recent Terraform code that you've written, and what did it do?
Yeah, sure. So I can give you a current walkthrough about recent resources that I've actually created with Terraform. So what this particular script does is that I've been particularly using something called as Service Management Provider API, which is been using the Terraform to actually create some of the certificates on Azure server. And kind of what it does is that I was actually setting up an Elasticsearch cluster on Azure using a Terraform script primarily. So what this Elasticsearch will do is if you have any spam attacks or phishing attacks, it will actually log all those particularly. So I created a custom Terraform template to actually do that one, to deploy a Elasticsearch cluster on Azure platform recently.
Okay, very nice. Can you tell me the difference between the commands Terraform plan versus Terraform apply?
Yeah, sure. So particularly I was using both of the commands, so I had I could say a good experience with both. So whenever you do apply, right, it actually scans the current directory if you are having any configuration, and then actually it will apply those changes primarily if you're using Terraform apply. And then if you use the Terraform plan command, you generally use it say if you wanted to create an execution plan, you can use the Terraform plan. And some of the times if you wanted to achieve some kind of a state in a configuration file, you can use the Terraform plan because it requires no flags as well. So I was using plan plus apply with the favorite plan and remote state. So those are the differences between plan and apply.
Okay, nice. So
good experience on recently I've actually installed and configured PowerShell, and then also have written custom PowerShell scripts as well. So I would say I had a pretty good experience with that one, PowerShell. Right?
Sure. Can you choose one script you've written recently and tell me what it does and the code logic?
Sure. So particularly I was using the Windows Azure PowerShell tools, and I was actually using the PowerShell. So what it does is that actually I was particularly using something called as Azure Publish Settings file, and then writing this PowerShell to actually kind of create multiple accounts and then log in different Windows users with different account credentials. So I was actually doing online backup with this PowerShell for the Windows Azure backup service. So I was actually using the script, setting up the subscription details, getting out some display parameters, and then kind of using it to kind of particularly create those resources and accounts, stuff like that.
Okay, very good. Can you tell me what the PowerShell command list that lists the content of a directory?
Like if a PowerShell command to list contents
of a directory?
Oh, list content. Yeah, sure. So primarily, I was particularly to do list files in a folders and then subfolders. Primarily, I was using set object and then particularly using the nsub to kind of list all the files. Also some folders primarily PowerShell script. And I can generally use something called as directory -r and then say pipe command, and if it is a particular folder, I will give out that, but it is generally direct dir-r pipe, and then you can just write a script for that. That is a command.
Cool. So dir, I think it's an alias. Do you know what an alias is too?
Like alias in PowerShell? Yeah, sure. So alias.
dir is an actually. Yeah. So can you tell me what alias is too?
Yeah, alias of a dir. Yeah, primarily you can use if you generally use -ps drive, that is the alias, or -child item, get-child item. PowerShell dir is an alias for that.
Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. What can you describe what your typical workday is? Like, let's say this past week, the things you worked on when you come into work. What do you usually do at your current? What is your typical operations?
Typical operations, I could say in the current project role, my typical day-to-day operations-wise, I could say 50 to 60% working on Azure cloud, monitoring that, setting up the architecture for some of the services, deploying on blob storage, working with real-time analytics like application insights, 50% primarily on that, and that's 20 to 30% on configuration management using Terraform, and also I've been using something called as a HashiCorp Vault, VAULT, to manage some of the services on Terraform for security. So I work with that, and then also particularly configuration management tool like Chef, and also scripting wise PowerShell, then Python and Ruby, and just primarily on releasing the application. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, very nice. Yeah, we're using HashiCorp Vault too here.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yep. Yep. Do you have any experience using Puppet?
Yeah, I have good experience with particularly working with the Puppet hierarchy file, and also recently I was actually working with creating some of the hierarchy functions to actually work with different modules, and also I created a custom module. Primarily I was using Puppet Forge as well to have kind of doing the configuration management wise, and then setting up the compliance for one of the client I was working with. So I had good experience with Puppet deployment with Git too. So yeah.
Okay, very nice. So, are you on call at any time? Do you do any kind of on-call or after-hours maintenance?
Yes, sure. Also, I actually primarily been most of the on-call support. I work with the graveyard shift as well. Sometimes in the night, production call support. So I usually do it maybe 20% to 30% of my day also.
Got it. Do you support any production systems? Are you on call for any production systems?
Yeah, sure. So for some of the production systems, I could say I've been particularly working with Python and Java-based applications recently, so I've been on call for both of them.
Got it. I noticed you're located in Texas. So, and this position is in Mountain View, California, around that the Silicon Valley Bay Area. You would be. Did you know that, or did you?
Sure. I would be very interested in doing that.
Okay. So, okay. Sorry, just 1 second. Do you have any experience with Jenkins?
So I have pretty solid experience because in the current project architecture, I was actually setting up the Jenkins master slave architecture. We have 4 slave nodes right now. I was actually using Jenkins as a pipeline as a service. So I was actually integrating Gradle builds into Jenkins, JUnit for testing, and then Git parameterized trigger plugin. While doing polling from Git, I was using Jenkins for that, and also had Jira plugin inserted into Jenkins as well, integration with that. So I had good experience with Jenkins for CI.
Okay, great. That's actually all the questions I had. Do you have any questions for me?
Sure. So thank you very much. Really appreciate taking your valuable time to talk to me. So just one quick question would be what is your current team size, and then also what kind of infrastructure and tools are you currently working on? That would be very helpful to know.
Yeah. So we have a team of about 10 or 11 people, and we have our application that we get from engineering department is written in Microsoft.net. And so 90% of our servers are running Windows, and we use Windows for IIS, web servers, SMTP servers, backend services, and then the rest of the Linux servers we use to run Elasticsearch and MongoDB, but not too much MongoDB servers. So we currently run everything in 6 different private data centers around the world. So we manage the hardware, the network, the storage, and then our own servers. But what's happening in one of our big projects is that we've been told that we're going to shut everything down, shut down all our private data centers, and move all the data into Azure. So it's a really big project because we have a lot of data and a lot of servers, and we're using Terraform with Git, for source control. We're using Terraform to build out our infrastructure in Azure. We're using Vault to store our secrets. We're using Puppet to, once the VMs or servers are provisioned in Azure, we're using Puppet to configure the application and build the servers. And then for the code, we get a binaries and config files from engineering. We use Jenkins pipeline to get that to pre-prod and the production data centers.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's really good to know.
Yep. On the scale, we have about 3,000 to 4,000 VMs around the world right now, and a lot of data. Yep. And we heavily rely on SQL, Microsoft SQL, because all the applications, everything is transaction based. When a customer email comes in, we process it. SQL records are inserted and read, and we easily get 30 to 50 million emails from customers to be archived a day, and so we have a lot of storage usage. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think that's all pretty much. And one last question is just want to know what would be the further steps or will this be the last interview the process? That would be great to know.
Yeah, so I'm not a manager or supervisor or anything. I'm just an individual contributor. So what I do, I just do these phone screening interviews, and then I provide the feedback back to my director and the recruiter, and they make the decision based on that to move people forward. So we'll likely have I think you did pretty good on this. Your skills are a good match for some of the stuff we do. So in the future, I'll talk to our recruiter, and we'll probably get a panel interview. So other people on the team will probably will interview with you further.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. All right. Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
ఇది విండోస్ బేస్డ్. Okay, please tell the feedback to Ram that you had how ఏమంటారు చాలా బాగా. థ్యాంక్ యూ బ్రో, యూ డిడ్ వెల్ అని పెట్టిన
అట్లా థ్యాంక్ యూ అని పెట్టు. షూర్ అని పెట్టు. షూర్ థ్యాంక్ యూ బ్రో. షూర్ అని పెట్టు. ఫస్ట్
షూర్ ఐ విల్ లెట్ నో అని.
ఐ విల్ లెట్ యూ నో.
You did.
ఇంకో రౌండ్ ఉండాలి.
You did. అంత యూ డిడ్ రియల్లీ వెల్ అని అప్రిషియేట్ చేద్దాం.
అంత అక్కర్లేదు, థ్యాంక్ యూ చెప్పావు కదా. అది రికార్డింగ్ ఆపేవా? 60 minutes అయింది.